Dogs love to be outside, and if you're thinking of designing a green oasis with your pooch in mind, here are a few great tips. Dennis, when somebody's planting or designing a garden and they want to keep their pets in mind, some of the things they should take into account?
I think take into account, consider the pet. Consider in this particular instance, it was a black lab, a beautiful 9-year-old Bailey, a black lab. And typical of lab breeds, they love to go around the perimeters of a property and sniff underneath the fence. So the main design element in this garden was to do completely the opposite to what most people do in a garden, which is push all the plants to the outside. So we brought the plants into island beds and designed a pathway all the way around the perimeter. So now Bailey can run around the fence line, sniff away, not going to damage any plants. The owner, Debbie, is not going to have to shout at the dog to get out of the flower beds. It works really well. From a maintenance standpoint, on a bigger property, you could use grass for those pathways. In a smaller urban setting, we wanted to use something that was going to be maintenance-free, so we used pea gravel and flagstone. The dog loves it. She loves to run around, and the owner loves it.
I'm sure. I've noticed you've also done something very special with the type of fencing you've used.
Yeah, very important in particularly city lots not to enclose the garden so tightly that there's no airflow. And so we've used a privacy lattice fence, so you do have a degree of privacy, but there's wind, there's air movement coming through, and the dog loves to peek through the lattice. They're curious, they want to see what's going on, and maybe it cuts down the barking a little bit because they can enjoy what's going on through the fence.
Sure, I think it's important for them to see what's going on, because a lot of the times when it's just a flat surface you can't see through, they just run back and forth barking. I guess it must be a stress. It must reduce the dog's stress significantly.
No question. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the actual plants.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Well, the theme was, as we said, to bring these island beds, bring it away from the fencing, and we designed about 4 different areas. A fall-time garden, which is in behind you. So there's a summer shrub area, a summer perennial area, and a spring garden, which has a Japanese maple, some cedars, and some spring bulbs that come up in the first of the season.
What about the deck? This looks different to most decks you see.
It is different for a couple of reasons. One, with the island bed design, I wanted a central patio in the middle of the garden so you can enjoy all 4 beds, all 4 areas. That was done out of a square cut flagstone. Now, as a transition between the deck and the flagstone, we did something quite unusual, which is a ground level deck. As a bonus to this, what this has become actually is an outdoor natural mat for the dog.
Wow.
So Bailey will lay on there when she gets wet and it drains through, then she doesn't take all that mess inside the house.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think you know what you're doing. Let's talk about the staircase.
The staircase, just as with humans, pets as they get a little older, get a little more fragile, a little harder to walk, and it's important that you compensate for that in design of steps. Make them nice and wide and deep. You don't want really steep staircases that people or dogs are going to stumble down. So that's very important to have. It's nice to have elevations in a garden, but make sure that they're going to accommodate adults and pets as they get a little older.
I just wanted to mention one thing. We've done a story in the past on pet-proofing your garden. What is the biggest difference between this garden and, let's say, pet-proofing your garden?
I see pet-proofing as you're often called in to talk about an existing garden design and how to compensate for the animals in that garden. To me, this was done on paper. This took a space from square one, from scratch, and said, all right, we're not proofing it, we're designing it with the dog in mind. And that's the difference. I think it's probably preventing some of the problems that could happen if you didn't design it in the first place.
Sure. And also, of course, when you are designing a garden like that, you take plant and toxicity into account. That goes without saying.
Goes without saying, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed you have a few really beautiful focal points in this garden. Can you show me?
Yeah, absolutely.
In a garden design like this one, how important are focal points?
Oh, immensely important for a couple of reasons. One, because we have this pathway effect, it could look a bit like a sidewalk if we're not too careful. So breaking up that look with a couple of different seating areas is a wonderful way to do that. It also makes the garden more interesting. So this one here, you view through an archway through the house. Nice little place to rest under the big spruce tree. Another section we did with Muskoka chairs, and you get a different view of the garden from there. Totally different time of day you would sit there. In the evening even, we've got a focal point with a gorgeous outdoor fireplace, And the main view from the patio is the gorgeous design with the cedars, the Japanese maple flowing over, and that you can actually see from the picture window inside the house as well.
It's beautiful. You've done a really amazing job. A couple quick tips. If somebody wanted to do something like this at home, where should they start?
The piece of paper. You know, the nursery business is like candies to kids. They go into a garden center, they buy things, they take them home. Where do we put? So get a piece of paper, do a layout. It doesn't have to be anything special, but do a rough layout of what you're looking for. Then maybe get a professional to help you come in and professionally design it. You're going to save money if you design it properly. My philosophy is a garden should take the stress out of life. And so if it's designed well, you're going to enjoy it. It doesn't become a chore. And in the summer, you can just put your legs up and
off you go.
Enjoy the garden.
And the pooch too.
And the pooch too.
Thanks, Dennis. With a little thought and planning, you can build a green oasis that both you and your pooch will enjoy.